The only access the United States has to Alaska by land is through Canada. It's unlikely President Donald Trump foresaw just how far Canada would go in retaliating when he launched his tariff war with Canada, because now the United States is about to lose its free passage to Alaska. Canada is fighting back with everything, and access to Alaska seems to be the next target as Alaskans worry. As it stands, this trade war is getting messier by the day. So what would it mean for the US to lose access to Alaska, and is there an end in sight to this escalating tariff war? First, please subscribe to the channel and let's get into how it all escalated into this situation. It surprised everyone when Donald Trump announced a 1-month delay in the impending 25% tariff on Canadian imports, now set to take effect on April 2nd.
Donald Trump is pausing tariffs on most goods from Mexico and Canada for 1 month.
This abrupt decision follows a series of rapid policy shifts that have left industries scrambling to adapt. The initial announcement of these tariffs had already strained relations between the United States and its northern neighbor. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, facing mounting pressure, responded by imposing 25% tariffs on $30 billion worth of U.S. goods, with plans to escalate to $125 billion. However, in light of Trump's recent postponement, Canadian Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc has delayed Canada's second wave of retaliatory tariffs until April 7th, while keeping the initial $30 billion tariffs in place. Industries on both sides of the border are expressing growing concern over the escalating trade tensions. The automotive sector, in particular, is on edge, given the deeply integrated supply chains between the two countries. U.S. automakers, who heavily rely on Canadian parts, have been vocal about the potential disruptions these tariffs could cause. The uncertainty has already led to volatile stock market reactions, with significant declines observed in sectors directly affected by the tariffs. The broader economic implications are equally alarming. Consumers are bracing for increased prices on everyday goods, from groceries to electronics, as companies grapple with higher import costs. Small businesses, which often operate on thin margins, fear they may be forced to shut down if the tariffs persist. The ripple effects could lead to job losses and a slowdown in economic growth, reminiscent of previous trade wars that left lasting scars on the global economy. While all these are concerning, the latest and most worrisome development is the threat by Canada to shut down U.S. access to Alaska. In a bold move, British Columbia has announced plans to impose tolls on commercial vehicles traveling to Alaska, aiming to counteract recent U.S. tariff threats. Premier David Eby declared that the province will not stand idle in the face of economic intimidation, signaling a firm stance against the policies introduced by President Trump. The proposed tolls specifically target commercial trucks en route to Alaska, a critical supply line for the U.S. state that passes through British Columbia. Historically, these routes have been toll-free, facilitating seamless trade and transport between the contiguous United States and Alaska. The introduction of tolls could disrupt this flow, potentially leading to increased costs for goods and services in Alaska. In addition to the tolls, British Columbia is implementing stringent low-carbon fuel regulations. Effective January 1, 2026, the province mandates that the minimum 5% renewable fuel requirement for gasoline must be fulfilled using biofuels produced within Canada. This policy aims to bolster domestic biofuel production and reduce reliance on foreign energy sources. By prioritizing Canadian-produced renewable fuels, BC seeks to stimulate local industries and ensure that environmental benefits are coupled with economic gains. Premier Eby's administration is also focused on eliminating internal trade barriers within Canada. By streamlining regulations and promoting interprovincial commerce, British Columbia aims to strengthen its economic resilience amidst external pressures. This approach underscores the province's commitment to a unified national market, enhancing competitiveness and fostering economic growth across Canada. These measures come at a time when Canadian renewable fuel producers are grappling with challenges posed by an influx of U.S. imports. The surge has led to a slump in BC's low-carbon fuel standard LCFS credit market, affecting the profitability of local biofuel projects. By enforcing the use of domestically produced biofuels, BC aims to stabilize the LCFS credit market and protect its renewable energy sector from external market fluctuations. Premier Eby's assertive stance reflects a broader strategy to safeguard BC's economic interests and environmental goals. By leveraging trade routes and energy policies, the province is positioning itself to counteract external economic threats effectively. However, these actions may have far-reaching implications. But tolls and fuel regulations are just the beginning. The bigger picture reveals how deeply the U.S. relies on Canada for access to Alaska, not just by road, but in aviation, energy, and trade logistics. Canada's pivotal role in facilitating trade between Alaska and the contiguous United States cannot be overstated. Geographically, Canada serves as the primary land bridge connecting Alaska to the rest of the U.S., with the Alaska Highway traversing Canadian territory. This route is indispensable for transporting goods and people, proving Canada's significance in the U.S.-Alaska trade. The reliance extends beyond roadways. U.S. flights frequently utilize Canadian airspace, and the transportation of freight heavily depends on Canadian rail networks and ports, notably the Port of Prince Rupert. Established in 1914, this port has evolved into a critical hub for intermodal container shipping, offering a strategic advantage due to its proximity to Asian markets. Its development has been integral to the Asia-Pacific Gateway and Corridor Initiative, aiming to streamline trade routes between North America and Asia. Energy trade further cements the interdependence between Alaska and Canada. Pipelines and shipping routes facilitate the export of Alaskan oil and gas through Canadian territory, with annual trade between Alaska and Canada exceeding $1 billion. This energy partnership not only supports regional economies, but also contributes to the broader North American energy landscape. The energy sector is poised to feel the impact acutely. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has cautioned that American consumers could face significantly higher gasoline prices if a 25% tariff on Canadian oil is enforced. Given that Alberta supplies approximately 25% of the U.S.'s energy needs, replacing this source would be challenging, potentially leading to increased reliance on less stable regions. She has indicated that Alberta will look for new buyers for oil and other resources.
If the Americans don't want to buy our products, if that's part of the solution is that they want to buy less from us, then we're going to have to look for new markets.
In response to these escalating tensions, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has convened an economic summit aimed at reducing Canada's economic dependence on the U.S. This initiative seeks to diversify export markets and strengthen internal trade, reflecting a strategic shift in Canada's economic policy. The current trade disputes echo past conflicts, such as the Pacific Salmon War of the 1990s, where disagreements over fishing rights led to significant economic and diplomatic strains between the two nations. These historical precedents highlight the potential consequences of unresolved trade tensions. The escalating trade tensions between Canada and the United States have taken a dramatic turn, with several Canadian provinces stepping up their retaliatory measures against the looming U.S. tariffs. The situation is becoming increasingly alarming as these provinces adopt bold strategies to counter the economic threats posed by their southern neighbor. In a bold move, Nova Scotia's Premier Tim Houston has condemned the proposed U.S. tariffs and implemented a ban on U.S. businesses bidding on government contracts. Additionally, the province has removed American liquor products from its provincial stores. This decisive action underscores Nova Scotia's firm stance against what it perceives as unjust economic aggression. The removal of American liquor products is particularly significant, given the province's control over alcohol sales through the Nova Scotia Liquor Corporation, NSLC, a crown corporation responsible for the distribution and sale of alcoholic beverages in the region. Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith has expressed grave concerns about the potential economic fallout from the U.S. tariffs. She has called for Canadian provinces to unite in dismantling internal trade barriers and to support counter-tariffs as a collective defense mechanism. Smith's warning highlights the precarious position of Alberta's economy, which is heavily reliant on energy exports to the U.S. The prospect of a trade war threatens to destabilize this vital sector, raising questions about the future of Alberta's economic stability. Interestingly, Alberta just signed a new deal in January to increase oil exports to the United States. The tariffs now put this deal at risk. Manitoba and Newfoundland have also joined the fray by halting imports of U.S. liquor and reviewing American procurement contracts. These measures are part of a broader strategy to strengthen trade ties with Europe, signaling a potential shift in Canada's trade alliances. The move to cut off U.S. liquor imports is a significant gesture, reflecting the province's willingness to sacrifice popular American products in favor of asserting their economic sovereignty. The unity among these provinces in the face of U.S. economic aggression is both commendable and concerning. While a united front is essential in trade disputes, the aggressive nature of these retaliatory measures could escalate tensions further. The question now is, how far are these provinces willing to go in this trade battle, and what will be the ultimate cost to their economies and the broader Canadian-U.S. relationship? But what's the justification from the U.S. side? President Trump has pulled the national security card, linking the tariffs to a declared national emergency over fentanyl trafficking. He claims that Canada has played a central role in allowing fentanyl to enter the U.S., and that it has failed to devote sufficient attention and resources or meaningfully coordinate with the U.S. to stem the tide of illicit drugs. Despite the vast majority of fentanyl in the U.S. coming from the southern border with Mexico. This move has left many scratching their heads, as the connection between Canadian trade and drug trafficking seems tenuous at best. Critics argue that this is a misuse of trade law exceptions, potentially setting a dangerous precedent for future trade relations. In response, Canada is weighing its options. While legal avenues under the USMCA and WTO are on the table, there's a recognition that these processes can be lengthy and cumbersome. Instead, Canada might lean towards negotiation and political pressure to resolve the dispute more swiftly. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has already taken a firm stance, criticizing the tariffs and highlighting the minimal role Canada plays in the U.S. fentanyl crisis. The broader implications of this spat are profound. The U.S. and Canada share one of the world's most robust trading relationships, with goods worth billions crossing the border daily. Disruptions stemming from these tariffs could have ripple effects, impacting industries and consumers on both sides. Moreover, the invocation of national security as a justification for trade barriers could open a Pandora's box, prompting other nations to adopt similar tactics, thereby destabilizing the global trade order. Canada is actively pursuing strategies to diversify its international trade partnerships, aiming to reduce its economic reliance on the United States. This shift is driven by recent trade tensions and the desire for a more resilient economic framework. The North American nation has strengthened its trade relations with the EU through the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement (CETA), which facilitates the exchange of goods and services. This agreement has opened avenues for Canadian businesses to access diverse markets within Europe, offering alternatives to U.S. partnerships. Within North America, Mexico has emerged as a strategic partner. As a member of the Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement, CUSMA, Mexico offers cost-effective manufacturing and supply chain alternatives. This relationship enables Canada to mitigate risks associated with over-reliance on a single trading partner. British Columbia even opened an office in Mexico to strengthen trade partnerships. Canada is also exploring trade relationships with emerging markets such as India, Vietnam, and Brazil. These countries offer diverse opportunities across sectors like textiles, technology, and agriculture, providing Canadian businesses with new avenues for growth. On the domestic front, there is a growing movement among Canadian businesses and consumers to support local products. For instance, some bar owners have chosen to boycott U.S. products in protest of recent tariff policies, reflecting a shift towards self-reliance and national solidarity. Simultaneously, Canada is turning its gaze to the Indo-Pacific region. A recent Team Canada trade mission to Japan, led by Trade Minister Mary Ng, aimed to forge stronger economic bonds. The mission connected over 160 Canadian organizations with Japanese counterparts, focusing on sectors like clean technology and agriculture. Such initiatives underscore Canada's commitment to broadening its trade horizons. But will these efforts be enough to counterbalance the loss of its primary trading partner? The stakes are high, and the outcome remains uncertain. As Canada navigates this complex web of economic and political challenges, one can't help but wonder, will these strategic shifts usher in a new era of prosperity, Or are they merely stopgap measures in an increasingly protectionist world? The answers remain elusive, keeping us all on the edge of our seats. What do you think? Will Canada's retaliation push the US to reconsider its trade war tactics? Or is this just the beginning of a deeper economic split? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive. See you in the next one.